Never, ever, ever do these things if you're selling your home. After 20 years of helping home sellers, there are 12 warning signs that nobody tells you about. And this could tank your sale, it could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, and it could even land you in legal hot water. So I'm revealing 12 hidden pitfalls. These are backed by real client stories that I've had, so you don't make those same pitfalls and mistakes. So give me a thumbs up if you're good with that. Now, if you watch this to the end, you're gonna have a foolproof checklist to sell smarter. So watch this now. Warning sign number one, it might shock you because it's happening more and more with rising inventory. Warning sign number one is ignoring emotional attachment. Sounds simple, right? But allowing your emotional attachment to cloud your judgment on your home's true value. Now, sellers, they're overlooking this because they're overpricing because this is where my kids grew up or the market is changing. Look, guys, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but this is going to be the truth. Today's market has 20% more inventory than it had last year. So buyers are not paying for your memories. I know you don't want to hear that, but they want deals. But I'm going to tell you how to get around this. Now, I had a client who insisted on $30,000 over market value, and it sat for 6 months. But in the meantime, guys, racking up $16,800 in carrying costs over that time period. And they ultimately sold for $40,000 less. So how do you avoid this? You get a neutral CMA from 3 different agents, then detach yourself. Just think of it as a business transaction. Now, here's a quick tip. Walk through your home, put your glasses on as a buyer would. Buyer glasses, not seller glasses. Now, up next is a warning sign that's a sneaky agent trick that you need to spot early. Warning sign number 2 is falling for the guaranteed sale promises. You've seen them, they're all over the place. And if you fall for or even believe the agent's guaranteed sale pitch, without reading that fine print, watch out. Now, some agents, they promise to buy your home if it doesn't sell, but there are loopholes, right? They may undervalue it up front or charge massive fees. Following the National Association of Realtors lawsuit, transparency is crucial. Now, there are shady agents who continue to exploit this vulnerability. Now, one seller I know, she was listed with another company who promised all kinds of stuff, and I know that she lost $15,000 in hidden clauses. So you protect yourself. You always want to demand to see the contract in writing. And if it feels a little squirrely, consult with a lawyer. Whole time, right? Have you ever been pitched a guaranteed sale? Go ahead, comment below and let me know. I'm curious if you have. Great. Now that you're armed, warning number 3 is a market shift that's catching sellers totally off guard. Warning sign number 3 is underestimating buyers' inspections in a buyer's market. Now, thinking a hot market means skipping pre-inspections? With interest rates dipping into the 6%, buyers are even more picky and they're more demanding for repairs for everything from roof leaks to outdated wiring. And ignoring this information could lead to renegotiations after you agreed to the sales price or even resulting into a failed sale entirely. Now, my client was selling their home in Florida and they're moving to South Carolina, but their Florida home had a $10,000 termite surprise that absolutely killed the deal. So you want to fix this up front so you're not surprised. You want to get your own inspection first. It's going to cost you about $200, but it could save you thousands. All right, now that's proactive, but hang on. Warning number 4 exposes digital danger that nobody talks about. Warning sign number 4 is over-reliance on AI pricing tools. Now, trusting AI tools like Zillow's Zestimate blindly, wrong answer. Look, guys, it's a tool. It does not answer all the questions. Now, I have seen many of those who are way off, either direction, by 10% to 15% on average, either way. And sellers overpriced, they're leaving money on the table if you do that. So I advise one couple against the idea of selling it for what Zillow had said. And guess what? We sold it for $25,000 more with that human expertise. So here's the tip. Use AI as a starting point, then layer in those local comps we talked about. But I got a question for you. Have you ever checked your Zestimate? Let me know. Is it solid advice? What do you think about it? Go ahead, put it in the comments. But warning number 5 is the emotional minefield that derails more sales than market crashes. Warning sign number 5 is family interference in decisions. Now, letting family or friends' opinions override professional advice. Look, Aunt Sue says hold out for more. But you know what? That leads to old listings and further price drops after it doesn't happen. So in today's fast-moving market, you get delays that'll literally cost you equity in your home. Now, one family I worked with had parents who had passed away, and they were selling their house at mom and dad's, right? But they argued because couldn't get together. They argued for weeks, and they missed the peak window, and ultimately they ended up selling for less. So to avoid setting boundaries early on and relying on data, you want to make sure that you're with family versus facts. You're nodding your head. But I bet warning number 6 is a legal red flag that has a new dual agency rule. Warning sign number 6 is ignoring dual agency risks. Now, allowing dual agency without safeguards. Now, in the post-2024 National Association of Realtors lawsuits, agents cannot hide commissions. But if they're representing both sides, they still create a lot of conflicts. Your selling price might suffer, and you might go for that quick close, but it might be not the right move. And that's why buyer's agents on my team only work with buyers, and sellers agents only work with sellers. Because why? How much you think it'll take? I don't know what it's going to take. Too much information. It's a total different skill set for selling a house than it is for somebody helping somebody to buy a house. So one seller I know, they lost $20,000 because the agent favored the buyer's side. They just wanted to close the deal. But that's what can happen when you have a regular agent who's trying to work both sides of the transaction. You see what I'm saying? So insist on separate reps or agents and full disclosure of what they actually do. Now, here's a quick stat for you. 30% of the deals have conflicts. Don't be one of them, okay? Great. Now that you know this, warning number 7 reveals hidden fees that eat into your profits. Now, warning sign number 7 is overlooking sellers' closing costs. A lot of times, forgetting about closing costs beyond just the commissions, things like transfer taxes and title insurance and prorated HOA fees. When you combine all these things together and a lot more, it can hit 2 to 3% extra on top of what you thought. So sellers who only budget for agents, they end up getting shocked. Now, my tip is to use a net calculator early in the game. And this is what my team does when we go out on a listing appointment. We bring our net sheet calculator so you know what you're going to end up with in your pocket at the end of the day. So avoid the shock. Now, warning number 8 is about staging mistake that turns buyers off instantly. Warning sign number 8, poor virtual staging on online listings. Using cheap virtual staging, it makes it look fake. And I know that you've seen these things online. Some of them are absolutely crazy, right? Now, with 90% of buyers starting online, a bad photo kills the interest right up front. So in today's digital market, investing in proper photography really does pay off. Now, my client switched and they received 3 offers in a week. They were with another company, they came to us, and then we had 3 offers in a week. So here's the tip. If you're looking for quality and you're looking for gold, budget for $200 worth of quality photos because that's return on investment gold for you. But I got a poll for you here. Are you a video tour fan? Go ahead, comment below and let me know if you like videos or if you don't. Okay, now that you got the visual smarts here, let's talk about warning number 9, and it's a timing bomb with election year volatility that can happen at any point in time as well. Warning sign number 9 is selling during peak volatility periods. Now, listing during uncertain times, whether it's stock market or economy or elections or, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Every day there's something going on. But if you're looking at like a post-election period without any kind of a buffer, think about it, what's going on. Because forecasts always show spikes in the spring of the year, but delays in any kind of a policy or the way people feel changes how many days it's going to take to sell. So you want to plan flexibility, or either that, just wait. Now, one seller that we had timed the market completely wrong, and they held on to their listing for 90 days more than they thought they would because they picked the wrong time. So up next is a smart move. It's warning number 10, and it uncovers the neighborhood secret that sabotages your sale. Warning sign number 10 is undisclosed neighborhood changes. Yep, it happens. Not researching upcoming developments, things like new highways or zoning shifts or stuff that you may know about, like HOA assessments that are in the future or somebody has talked about, or increases, and then the buyer finds out after closing. Guys, don't do it. Total transparency laws are super strict now. You just can't hide it. And if you hide it, the seller of that property, if you're a seller, you may face lawsuits here. Now, I made a point for a client of mine to disclose, and it literally helped them avoid a $40,000 drop. Now, they were upfront, and they let the buyer know about an assessment that was coming up in the community. They didn't have a plan or a budget for this in the homeowners association, and they let the buyers know, and they were fine with that. But a neighbor down the street sold their home around that same time, and they did not disclose to the new buyers. They ended up having to cover that assessment, the lawyer's fees, and they sold their house to the new buyer and didn't tell them about any possible upcoming fees. And even though they had knowledge of this, so do the right thing because it can come back to you 10 times worse. Now here's a tip. Check city plans monthly and follow what's going on in your community and let the buyers know up front. Whew, that was a close call, but warning number 11, it's a DIY disaster just waiting to happen. Warning sign number 11 is skimping on professional repairs. Now, doing cheap fixes yourself, okay, that's fine. But if you do cheap fixes yourself and they fail inspections, that's a different thing. Buyers who demand warranties or botch jobs that lead to giving buyer credits or buyers that just walk away when it goes bad, this is what you want to avoid. So money well spent is on pros up front. It saves 2 times later on. Now, one handyman's paint job on the front door and the trim work peeled, and they used the wrong paint. They didn't do any prep work, but this cost a seller $5,000 cash out of pocket in concessions. You don't want that. Now, the final warning is coming, and this ties everything all together. Warning sign number 12 is the lack of a backup plan. Now, no contingency. If the sale fails, temporary housing, bridge loans, what are you going to do? Now, this year, I want you to know this. There are a projected 5.2 million home sales, and 10% of those are expected to fail. So you really need to be prepared. So my advice is to build a plan B and do that early on in the game. Now, there are 12 signs that nobody tells you about when you're selling your home. You want to avoid these so you sell faster and for more money, right? That's what you want. I hope you enjoyed the seller survival checklist. And if you need an agent referral, just give our office a call at 843-839-9870 and let us know what town and what state, and we'll hook you up with the real estate expert in your area, because you don't want average. You want way above average when it comes to selling your home. So go ahead and hit that like button. If any of this saved you stress, go ahead and subscribe for more real estate truths. And I'll see you next time. Sell smart, guys.